Are you ready for nostalgia to smash you directly in the face? Well, Taichi, Agumon, and the entire cast of Digimon is back. I remember it was only a few years ago that I started having nostalgia again and memories of Digimon. I'll never forget how everyone was just completely enthralled with Pokemon, and then Fox Kids started dropping trailers about a new show called Digimon. It truly felt like a total ripoff of Pokemon, but it had one major difference. The monsters could talk. This was kind of mind-blowing because as a kid, at first you weren't sure if this was a continuation of Pokemon or if this was its own show completely unrelated, or didn't really know anything at all, to be honest. Don't forget, this was before internet was widely available, so we were left to reading magazines to find out what exactly was going on. Nonetheless, I was really intrigued. Along with my cousins and friends, we would start comparing some of the Digimon we have seen to Pokemon. We would say Agumon looks like a ripoff of Charmander, and Gomamon was a ripoff of Seal from Pokemon. But to be fair, those were some loose connections we were making, but it couldn't be helped. See, Pokemon at this moment in time was a smashing success. Every kid in the 90s was obsessed with it. And then you drop another show called Digimon, aka Digital Monsters, instead of Pocket Monsters, who was also digivolving and transforming into larger versions of themselves and fighting. It was impossible not to see all the similarities to Pokemon. And at that time, not exactly sure if this series was just literally trying to be a ripoff with enough changes to simply not get sued. In saying that though, I will never forget sitting down Saturday morning, churning on Fox Kids, sitting there with my cousins, and waiting to be introduced into the Digimon world. So what did me and my cousins think when we were first introduced into this Digimon world for the first time? We were absolutely blown away. At the time, it felt like a more mature version of Pokemon. It was more serious, and the characters like Taichi just felt way cooler and was someone you wanted to be growing up. You really just wanted to get a pair of those goggles on your head and also get a Digivice and just walk around and feel like you're in the digital world yourself. So despite our love for Pokemon, we were immediately invested in the Digimon world, and thus was born the Pokemon vs Digimon battle. Now, we can look back and clearly see Pokemon won this battle. After all these years, Pokemon has become a media empire, topping as one of the largest media companies in the world. Meanwhile, Digimon struggled to really find its footing. Every season was a new group of Digidestined and a new Digimon, and it just became hard to follow. And more importantly, it was harder to care about the characters as the show was essentially rebooting every season, with some crossovers here and there. So truthfully, I stayed a pretty big fan for about the first 3 seasons, even with the changes, and saw the first Digimon movie in theaters, which I thought was amazing back in the day, getting to see them on the big screen. So Digimon has been coming back in a big way the last few years. They released the Tri-Series a few years ago, which was the original cast as young adults about to go off to college and hit the next major point in their lives, and seeing the changes that have happened to them. This was a great anime that I highly recommend checking out if you are a fan of the original series. Then you will absolutely love Digimon Tri. It's about 4 episodes a season, and it's 4 seasons long if I remember correctly. Then this past year, they released another Digimon movie called Digimon Adventure Last Evolution Kizuna, which I will be making a separate video for as it hasn't released in North America yet, so I'm patiently waiting for that, but it focuses again on the Tai and friends grown up instead of being kids. So this takes us now to 2020, and Digimon has now completely rebooted its original series with the original cast and writing a new updated story for these characters. So the first thing I thought about was, does this mean the original series is now non-canon? Or are we just treating this as another what-if story, if they were children in 2020 instead of the 1990s? So right now, the new season of Digimon is about 9 episodes in, and so far, I was really impressed. The pacing was really good. They didn't waste a lot of time standing around, and immediately got into the action, giving us exactly what we want from the series. Taichi and Koshido are both immediately thrown into an over-the-top situation, as all digital aspects of our life are malfunctioning and causing mayhem. And Tai realizes his mom and sister are on a train that is out of control. As he panics and runs in hopes to somehow help, he's immediately thrown into the digital world where he meets Agumon for the first time. Or the second time? No, the first time. However you want to look at it. Anyway, forgetting the old series right now, things are looking a lot different than they were in the original, and we are treated to a new story which I personally think is a lot better compared to the original. This also makes sense since they have the original to look back on and essentially get a second chance at making changes that they may have not made back in the original. We see Agumon go up against that virus-looking Digimon, and it then evolves, leaving Agumon in a situation where he was no match for him. This is where we get to see Agumon evolve into Greymon, with a nice new animation to go along with it, which I really appreciated as I felt the other animations were kind of boring and not really creative. This one feels a lot more fluid. I just hope they don't waste a lot of time recycling these animations every single episode when they inevitably digivolve again, as we don't need to see the same thing over and over and over again. Though from an animator's perspective, this is a perfect opportunity to pad time. So Agumon takes this Digimon on, and honestly, I'm pretty impressed with the animation of this episode. Don't get me wrong, it's not the best animation I've ever seen, but it's definitely high level animation, and for a series like this, I was quite impressed with how fluid everything was, meaning they utilized more frames to get that nice level of fluidity. When we get to see Greymon use his Mega Flame, that's where I think the animation really shined. Yamato shows up along with Garurumon, where we see Tai and Yamato team up and fight another virus Digimon. Agumon and Tai struggle and have a hard time handling this Digimon as it keeps digivolving, and both Greymon and Garurumon were simply no match. So is this where we see them digivolve from their champion forms to their ultimate forms? Nope. Well, how about Mega forms? Nope. Let's just immediately digivolve them into their fused Mega form, Omegamon, and completely shatter their opponent with the highest evolution level we know of in the Digimon world. Don't get me wrong, this was a cool scene, and I just wasn't expecting to see this form already so early on in the reboot, but I think they were simply setting us up so we can see the kind of ceiling of power where our Digimon will work towards throughout the series. I don't think this form will get used again until much later in the series, and they simply either won't acknowledge it exists, or Agumon and Garurumon will simply forget how it works until it's, ideal. The series so far is doing a good job to introduce the cast slowly, episode by episode, while progressing the story. I feel this is doing a much better job to showcase all the other Digimon and give them some more time to shine. We now get to the biggest difference from the original anime and where the show really changes its origins. We learn from some ancient holy Digimon that Agumon, Gabumon, and the others are all soldiers that fought in this holy Digimon war centuries ago, and the Digimon standing in front of us are the reincarnations who fought off the darkness years ago. Another really cool concept with introducing holy Digimon will be Patamon and Gatomon. As we know they have angel forms, which are some of the most powerful in the series respectively, I imagine they will be the reincarnation of some of these holy Digimon and play a vital role as some of the most powerful Digimon in the series. If you were a fan of the original series, then I think you will really enjoy the new one. The pacing feels a lot faster, and I appreciate a lot of the changes. Though one of the negatives I have is the reuse of the Digi transformations, as they get used time and time again, which just feels really repetitive. I hope they either just don't show them moving forward, or at the very least cut them down dramatically. I can understand the first time showing the evolution, but by the sixth time, I don't need to see it again. I do hope the story becomes a bit more complex. The Holy Digimon storyline is a really cool idea, and I like the concept of going down this rabbit hole of complexity and, digging up the layers to make it exciting enough to keep our attention. The show is in an interesting spot because on one hand, you want to introduce new people to the series and franchise, but on the other, they really don't waste any time teaching you who this Digimon are and assume you as the person watching already know at least a little bit. So overall, as I said, if you enjoyed the original growing up, then I would definitely say give this one a shot. I'm having fun with it, but to be honest, I think I would have enjoyed another series continuing with them already grown up. and progressing the story that way. Them being adults just felt more relatable, but it will be interesting if this series will eventually go in that direction and age them up again, maybe in a few seasons. So that's it for this one. If you enjoyed this, consider sharing my videos so you can get someone else hooked in the digital world as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Let me know who your favorite Digimon was growing up, and are you going to give this new reboot a chance? That's all for this one. See you in the next video.